Hello, I'm the Biochemist, and I've got an experiment. I'm searching for the highs, the lows, and the mids of the PlayStation catalog here on the PS1 Library Deep Dive. We're talking about one of the games that helped put Sony on the map, one of its flagship titles, Crash Bandicoot, and we'll talk about one of the game's voice actors later. Is it worth going back to today? Is it overrated? Will I say anything original in this video? Let's find out, but first, we start where all games start, and that, of course, is the cover art. 30 seconds, let's go. The cover here is about as honest as a game cover can get. It looks like we have a slightly cleaned up model of Crash here with a level from the game just ripped and placed in the background. I absolutely love how he's ripping through some type of space void and coming right at us, as if we're the next victims in his whirlwind of destruction. The logo is up top and it's great. It's iconic and almost synonymous with the PS1. Overall, a great cover I think. Represents Crash 1 perfectly.
Who do you think you are? I am!
So Crash Bandicoot. It's a simple platformer made in the early days of 3D, and it certainly feels like it. The levels here are not large and open like in, say, Mario 64. Instead, you can really feel the two-dimensional inspirations here. Levels are either corridors where Crash is running away from the camera, corridors where Crash is running towards the camera, or the typical side-scrolling levels you'd see with some more verticality, I'd say, a la Super Mario 2. The boss battles are in little arenas, so they actually give you the most 3D movement, even if they are rudimentary. It's really the natural progression of how 2D platformers would evolve, I guess. If I were tasked with making a fresh new 3D game back in the mid-90s, with classic side-scrollers as my frame of reference for what makes a good game, the most logical thing to do would be to try to change the camera angle and freshen things up. So while these level types sound basic, Naughty Dog was able to create a fun platformer by mastering the basics here, and by keeping things fresh by continuously changing which types of levels you encounter. Crash keeps you on your toes. One minute you're scaling a wall, the next you're running from a boulder towards the camera, the next you're on a warthog running away from the camera. It certainly feels very fresh. They build off of this in the later games. The gameplay is simple. Jump, run, and spin your way to the end of the level. That's it. Some levels in the last third of the game do get pretty difficult for both good and bad reasons. Some of them are good hard because they have smart level design that tests the skills that you've honed throughout the game. The toughest level to me is definitely Slippery Climb. Here you have to ascend this treacherous wall with very few checkpoints and many instant death spikes and falls. I never could get mad at the game though because it was fair, just challenging. The bad hard comes from how the game saves. This wasn't an issue for me in this playthrough since I was able to hoard quite a few extra lives, but when I was a kid, this caused quite a bit of trouble. You can only save the game by completing bonus levels that you can find. If you fail the bonus though, or if the level you're in just doesn't happen to have a bonus, which many do not, you're out of luck, you can't save right now. It's entirely possible to beat, say, 3 hard levels, but lose all your lives without saving the game, forcing you to go back and redo each of those levels. I'm all for sparse saves in your games. I think it can add a fair challenge, but the fact that you can fail bonus levels kind of irks me, I think. Something like Donkey Kong Country 1, where you unlock save rooms after a certain amount of levels cleared in each world, seems a bit fairer to me. It's of course doable though, it just caused young me lots of strife. Something I don't know how is doable though is 100%ing this game. You must collect all the gems and keys which are hidden throughout the game in order to get the true ending. But in order to collect most gems, you have to break each box in a level without dying. Some of these boxes are no joke to get to, man. I've beaten this game several times, but I don't think I'll ever have the dedication to 100% it. No way. Others have been able to do it, of course. Later games would end up fixing these issues I have, making saving much easier, and making collecting gems not so perilous. So if challenge is something you want out of this series, Crash 1 will be your best bet.
Did you know? In the level generator room, Neo Cortex can be seen without the iconic N on his forehead in the background videos. This is because the clip of Cortex here was taken from when he was still in college, before the tattoo and before he developed a crippling drinking problem, along with a desperate need for world domination.
I guess I haven't mentioned yet why Crash is doing any of this zany business. So, he's the result of a failed experiment performed by the maniacal Dr. Neo Cortex. Crash manages to escape the labs, but he wants to go back in order to save his lovely girlfriend Tana, the Bandicoot. That's it, really short and sweet, nothing complicated. We start on Insanity Beach, as you can see here in the overworld, and we have to make our way all the way to the pinnacle of the tower to save her. This setting is something I absolutely love. You have to play each level in order here, no skipping around or any of that junk. What this does is tell a cohesive story about Crash's journey. It's no deep philosophical tale, but it's fun. I adore how the levels make sense with where you are on the map and how they all feel like they belong in the same world. As we progress, we see Cortex's spire looming in the background, getting larger and larger as we near our destination. We are with Crash on this journey to save Tawna. My favorite level is probably Road to Nowhere. Watch this amazing speedrun footage, baby. This is a pretty tough level where Crash has to try and cross this terribly precarious rope bridge high up in the mountains. The white mist serving as the bottomless pit gives the level this cold feeling, and it is an awesome way to convey just how high up you are. Crash Bandicoot 1 isn't just a bunch of levels jumbled up together like Crash 2 or Crash 3. No, this is a trek the likes of McCarthy's The Road or Buzz breaking into Al's apartment to save Woody. Okay, maybe I'm getting a little carried away here, but my point is that this type of world building creates a charm that the other games in this original trilogy kind of lack a little bit. That's why this game is still worth playing today, I think. It's absolutely filled to the brim with charm. The graphics, yes, while notably worse than the other two Naughty Dog entries here, are still solid enough. I'd venture to say that they've got an ugly, cute look to them that is extremely endearing. I'm in love with Crash's beady little eyes and his gaping black maw, his cheeky angular smile, his low frame jump animation, the modest but colorful setting, the Neanderthal looking Cortex, the orange portals at the end of each level, and the low poly papu papu butt crack. It's like garage rock. It's unrefined, but clearly made with passion, so I end up caring about it a lot. Animations are charming too. Instead of just having one generic death animation like you see in a lot of the platformers at the time, there are countless ones based on the way you die, like these ones. Not only does it add to the game's character and help it stand out, but it makes each death actually feel a bit more personal. Like, this is absolutely my fault that Crash is now unalive. I also love the minimal voice acting here. Crash just sounds so goofy with his low quality yeehaw and ta-da when he gets a gem. We'll talk a bit more about the voice acting a little later. The music adds to the charm as well. The soundtrack is largely inspired by the tropical setting of the islands here, filled with lots of upbeat percussion. The music reflects the progression you make through the game too, changing from those tribal sounds to more ominous, industrial, and scientific sounding songs as you approach Cortex's complexes. So yeah, Cortex is the final boss, naturally.
Hey, a laser!
He's not too tough. None of the bosses in this game are really that challenging, but I am able to gain a bit of appreciation for the setting of this level. We fight atop Cortex's Zeppelin, spinning around and around above the 3 islands we just traversed, while a wonderful sunset sets the mood. How romantic. It really brings the whole game together, being able to see all the lands that you conquered. So, is Crash 1 really worth playing these days? I'd say absolutely. While I've given it quite a bit of praise overall, it's still probably my least favorite of the first 3 Crash games, simply because the others exponentially improve on the visuals and the complexity of the gameplay and level design, but I am able to appreciate the beautiful simplicity that exists here, a simplicity that helped launch the prolific Naughty Dog studios into the stratosphere. This is the part of the video where we talk about one of the game's creators. Today we're going to talk about the voice actor Brendan O'Brien. Born in Hollywood, O'Brien was the child of 2 actors. According to IMDb, he carried the torch, with his first role being in the TV movie from 1973, Honor Thy Father, where he played a child. He had a few more roles, even some writing credits here and there, before he got his largest role in 1996. Working with Naughty Dog, O'Brien served as the voices of Crash Bandicoot, Dr. Cortex,
Darn you, Crash Bandicoot!
and Embryo in Crash 1.
But Dr. Cortex, the vortex is not ready. We have no idea what it could do.
He would continue to serve as Crash's voice for many other titles, along with other characters including Tiny Tiger,
Tiny Squash Puny Cars,
Dr. Engine,
So, Crash Bandicoot, we meet again.
and Pinstripe,
Have some of this.
among some others. He would go on to have some other minor roles here and there, but he stepped away from the limelight in the early 2000s. Brendan O'Brien sadly passed away in early 2023. Crash would go on to be voiced by other people over the years, but O'Brien's version is certainly the one that is most well known. So thank you, Brian, for your contributions to all of our lives and our childhoods. And thank you all for watching this installment of the PS1 Library Deep Dive. As promised, we're spinning a wheel to see which one of your viewer-suggested games gets picked.
Alright, we have here our wheel, and we're going to spin it. Here are our entries. Thanks to all you lovely folks at home. We're clicking, we're spinning, we're seeing what game is up next. And we have SpongeBob Super Sponge. Alright, SpongeBob Super Sponge is up next. See you then, guys.